it's interesting because I'm aware that this is unhealthy and that this is not a good thing and not something that overall my value and worth is separated from that, even though I do put a little bit in there. As much as I don't want to, I have a little bit in there where I'm like, I'm going to feel good. It annoys me when people dismiss it. When people dismiss it without understanding. Now, here's what I will allow. I will allow this, my dear viewer. Great Britain, England specifically, you guys invented the word soccer. I want you to take ownership of it, okay? Guys, welcome to the Imported Podcast. We have a solo episode for you today, and you've caught me in a mood, I would say. I'm in a mood, and that's why I decided to record this podcast. I woke up pretty damn sweaty, okay? Pretty damn sweaty, and that's due to the fact that it is now May 5th, and it's getting nicer outside, getting warmer, and I live at the top floor of an 800-year-old building, a beautiful apartment that I really, really love. However, it is also a torturous situation because the heat rises and I am now basking in a humid environment that is causing me, a human being, to perspire. And there is nothing that puts me in a worse, more agitated mood than sweating when I don't want to sweat. This is a very interesting thing. Sweating when you expect to sweat is no problem. It's no problem at all. When I put on my workout clothes and I go to work out and I know I'm going to sweat or go on a run or play football, I expect to sweat. It doesn't bother me one bit. In fact, it even brings a sense of satisfaction. However, when a human being does not plan or expect to sweat, then it causes great turmoil in my mind. So that's what I'm dealing with today, guys. That's why I'm in a little bit of a, how would you call it? An annoyed, chippy, chirpy mood. Because I am just constantly at a low level perspiration, which makes me very uncomfortable, and I don't like it. So that's my introduction. That's why you're catching me in a little bit of a hostile mood. It's not you. It's nothing you did. You didn't do anything. It is simply the nature of this country that does not believe in commonly having air conditioning. It's a trade-off. This is a beautiful, old historic apartment. But it is for a person that lived in the 1500s, who had no idea about air conditioning and who didn't mind to sweat. You know, these people, they would go weeks and months without even bathing. You know, just a low-level, sticky, sweaty surface on their skin was nothing to worry about. But I, a modern human being, a pathetic modern human being that needs every comfort and luxury of modern human life and civilization, has a panic attack and freak out when the temperature is 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit, settle down Europeans, 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit higher than what my body would like it to be. Wow. And I thought we were adaptable. So that's my introduction, guys. Anyway, welcome back to the Imported Podcast, a solo episode for you, as you can see. Got a few things on the mind today, and let's first start off with Hamburg. If you follow my main YouTube channel, Nalf, you saw that I was in Hamburg this past weekend with my girlfriend, Laura. We went up there because I got her and me tickets to a musician that we really like, Zach Bryan, an American country musician who's quite popular in the United States, not very popular in Europe. So if you look online and look at Zach Bryan concerts in the United States, he's playing big venues, really, really large, not so intimate venues. But because he is not so popular here in Europe, we were lucky enough to see him at a very small, intimate venue, which was a very cool experience. So that was the main purpose of going up to Hamburg. And I gotta say, my perspective, if you've watched my video, you know this already, my perspective on the city of Hamburg has changed quite a bit. I went there in 2019 with a few of my friends from the football team, and it was a horrible disaster of a trip. And that just really tainted the image of Hamburg for me. Now, I know all the bad things that happened in Hamburg that first time were my fault or our fault. It wasn't the city, but it did really make me hate this. I was like, Hamburg sucks. It's accursed. I don't want to go back there ever again. I didn't even like what I saw, but gave it a second chance. And I really, really liked it. I don't know. It has a bit of character that I have not felt in other German cities. Now, I'm a big fan of a city like Munich. However, I don't think it is as lively or has as much character as a city like Hamburg. Munich is very buttoned up, posh, clean, formal. You know, we're Bavarian, we're by the mountains, this is how we do things. And Hamburg doesn't feel like that at all. There's elements of that in the different neighborhoods, but it feels much more lively. And this is, we all know about the Reeperbahn, the famous kind of red light district, which, a city like Munich does not have. But the thing that I'm trying to get at is that I think a city like Hamburg, a port city where so many people are coming and going, I think a big part of the development of how that city evolved was the fact that it's a major port city, largest port in Germany, third largest port in Europe. And so there were sailors and people coming in there all the time and getting exposed to different people, different cultures. And, the Reeperbahn developed for those sailors who were on a ship for a long time and were looking for companionship, I would say. That's how these things developed. But it does lead to a different personality of the city than a city like Munich. Cool thing about Hamburg is that the Beatles went there in, I think, 1960, and they stayed there for like 2 years, playing hundreds of shows in Hamburg, I think in St. Pauli, and they really honed their craft. They really honed their craft as musicians, as a band, and John Lennon has a famous quote. It's like, I was born in Liverpool, but I grew up in Hamburg. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. That's a pretty cool mark of fame. What is the phrase I'm looking for? Claim to fame for Hamburg, that they really probably had a big say in helping develop the Beatles, the band that became so world famous. So it was overall a very good trip. We had great weather, which always helps. Everywhere feels and looks way better when it's sunny out. It was a Saturday and a Sunday, and there was so many people out on the waterfront, really lively, lots of good vibes, and I really enjoyed it. So Hamburg was a success, and if you haven't seen the YouTube video yet on the Nalf channel, check that out. And I would have to say it skyrocketed in my rankings of my favorite German cities. I'm working on a list ranking my favorite and least favorite German cities, and Hamburg previously was at the bottom. I won't say the very bottom, but it was near the bottom. It is now near the top. And at some point, I'll release the details of this list. So, guys, Hamburg. That's that. It was a bit of a whirlwind of a trip. Came back. I got a little bit sick. Was exhausted. Had to stay up and work for 18 hours straight editing the video to get it released on time. And now I'm recovered, and now I'm here talking to you guys. So Hamburg is not so bad after all. Now, man, I am sweaty, huh? Really am sweaty. So guys, let's talk a little bit about football. As you guys know, I've been quite involved in the Stuttgart Surge. There's going to be a pretty exciting announcement from the Stuttgart Surge today for the team, so check it out on Instagram. There'll be a video going up announcing an important thing. I made the video, so check that out. But I was thinking about football, especially football in Europe and Europeans' relationship to this American sport. And here I go. I'm going to go on another rant because I know that American football is the greatest sport in the world. And anybody who does not agree with that simply doesn't understand the sport. I've never in my life met a human being that has learned and understand about the sport of American football, come to understand all the intricacies, the ins and outs, the nuances, the personnel, the strategies, the physicality, come to understand all of this and then be like, no, that's a stupid sport. Find me a human being in the world that can answer every question about football, understands the sport, and thinks, stupid. You can't. So bring that person to me, or if you are that person, tell me, and we'll have a discussion. It's very interesting. Europeans in general love to hate on American football. They always say, oh, hand egg, American hand egg. Why do you even call it football? It's not football. And why do you call football soccer? You guys know that Europeans invented the word soccer. It's not an American term. It came from England, okay? When these sports were developing in Great Britain, there was footballs, the football that you play with your foot, that the world knows as foosball or football, that I would call soccer. There was this, and then there was a sort of spin-off of this sport that you played with your hands, okay? And they called this rugby, okay? It was rugby football, which there was a similar goal to get the ball to the end of the field, or football, soccer football that you play with your foot. Now, to distinguish between these two sports, they couldn't call them both football and football, so they called the one you played with your foot association football, because it was played by the rules of the Football Association. And the other one that you played with your hands, which is a little bit of a different shaped ball, they called that rugby football. Okay, or shortened to rugger. Now, the other football that you play with your feet, they shorten that to the association football. They shorten that to ASOC, ASSOC, later called a soccer. Rugger, a soccer. Later on, they dropped the A, just called it soccer. This term, soccer, was made by the Brits, by Europeans, and then modern-day people try to thrust this term upon us Americans, and act like we invented it. We didn't invent this. This is from Europe. We're using your word. You called this sport soccer. And then the Brits, after they invented this term and saw that everybody else was calling it football, said, oh yeah, football. Sorry, no, not soccer. No, we've never heard of this term soccer. The stupid Americans invented this term soccer. We never heard of it. Great Britain, England specifically, you guys invented the word soccer. I want you to take ownership of it, okay? This is a European word. We Americans were just being polite and using the word that you invented. You called this sport soccer, okay? Not us. We're just using your terms. So that's the thing about soccer. That's why I still call it soccer. It's simply out of respect for Great Britain. I don't want to throw away the words they worked so hard to create. So that's why I call American football, football, and what you would call European football, soccer. You will never, ever, ever change my mind about that. I will never not call it soccer. So there's that. That's, you can sense that I'm very warm right now. I think you can sense it with my attitude and how I'm speaking with you guys. Just so you know, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad that I am so hot and sweaty in this apartment. And when I am in this mood, certain things need to be said. And I can't really hold it back. This is the way that I battle the heat. Okay? This is how I battle the heat. Back to football, American football. Why is it the best sport in the world? No other sport needs every single type of human being. It is the most welcoming and inclusive sport in the history of mankind. You need heavy people. You need light people. You need slow people. You need fast people. You need every single different type of body type to play this sport. You need different personalities. You need people that are very intelligent and can analyze. You need people that are dumb and need to just run into things. Linebackers. You need people that are selfless, that will do their job with no glory, never get any credit or anything. Offensive line. You need people that are selfish and want all the attention and are looking to wear shiny things. Wide receivers. Give me the ball. Let me score touchdowns. Every body type, every personality, all working together for one goal. If one person doesn't do their job of the 11 on the field, the play fails. In basketball, one guy can get a rebound, dribble all the way up the court, and dunk it. One guy. Show me a quarterback that gets the ball, blocks for himself, throws the ball, runs out there, catches it for himself, and runs 99 yards and scores a touchdown. No, you need 11 people all working together to do their specific jobs, some of whom get very little credit or glory, some of whom get all of it. But the team aspect of this sport is what I love so much about it. I love it so much, and it is, it does bother me. Excuse me. I will say, it annoys me when people dismiss it. When people dismiss it without understanding. Now, here's what I will allow. I will allow this, my dear viewer. You can say, that's a little bit too complicated. I don't have the time to learn all the ins and outs of the sport. I choose to abstain. This is an acceptable position, okay? You can abstain from American football. However, if you do understand it, you cannot dislike it. It's impossible. If you dislike it, you don't understand it. It is in harmony with being a human being and being a part of a society. It is ingrained with us, the sport of football. It is the most natural thing in the world. Soccer's not. Soccer's not. One guy can kick the ball all the way through, dribble, and score. The other thing about soccer is everybody more or less, sorry, I don't mean to just hate on soccer. And I don't hate soccer. I am interested in it culturally. And I love playing FIFA also. It's a very fun game. But the thing about soccer and basketball, okay, more or less, everybody on the field or the court in these sports has the same skill set or is doing the same thing, right? Aside from the goalkeeper. Everybody on the soccer field is running, kicking the ball, passing the ball, shooting the ball. Everybody does the same motions, more or less. Basketball. Everybody passes the ball, dribbles the ball, shoots the ball, plays defense. Everybody. Every single player, more or less, does the same thing. Now, certain players are taller and may play down low and get more rebounds, but more or less, when you zoom out, this is the reality of these two sports. But football is not like this at all. Everybody has a different skill set. I am good friends with my friend Rudy, okay? Tyler Rutenbeck. He plays wide receiver. I play linebacker, or did play linebacker. These are wildly different positions, wildly different experiences on the field. We do nothing similar. He runs routes and tries to avoid defenders to get open so he can catch a ball that's thrown to him and then move that ball down the field. I very rarely touch the ball. I'm not looking to get open. I'm looking to find the person with the ball and stop them and tackle them. I have to deal with offensive linemen and try to shed blockers and chase down running backs to try to tackle them. That's not what a wide receiver does. That's what a linebacker does. And every single position has a different job, a different role, which is why I say it corresponds to society. Everybody in society in a town has a different job. You've got a baker, you've got a builder, you've got a postman, you've got a YouTuber, kind of a worthless job. You've got all these different roles in society, right? And this is a natural way for humans to work together. Same as football. You've got all these different roles and skills where humans come together to achieve a goal. Goal may be a touchdown. The goal for a society is to have a harmonious living environment where people can get what they need. Football is the most natural sport in line with the human condition that has ever been created. And if you disagree with me, you don't understand it. So there's that. There's that. We do have that. That's an important football rant. You know, the heat. I said I keep referring to it. The heat puts me in a different mindset. The heat gets me. The heat brings out the best and the worst in me. So I'm going to try and calm down a little bit here for you guys. You're doing well. You're bearing with me with the heat. I wanted to talk about expectations and reality, YouTube, psychology. I have been doing YouTube for, well, really I've been doing it for like 15 years. But I've been doing it seriously since 2016. That is 7, almost 8 years now that I've been doing YouTube and working and growing on the channel. I've created and posted 650 videos on that channel. That's quite a lot. And I've learned so much about YouTube, being a creator, creative person, artist. And I've also learned so much about human psychology because of YouTube. For those of you guys who don't know, on YouTube, for a person that's making YouTube videos, you have this tab called the Creator Studio. And in that, you can see very in-depth analytics, data, numbers for all of your YouTube videos. You get information that shows the click-through rate, the percentage of people that click on your video when shown to them. You get the retention percentage. You get graphs that run in line with your video and show the retention on every moment of your video, where it spikes up, where it drops down, where people trail off. There's a lot of interesting analytics data and tools for the YouTube creator, which is very useful on one hand. However, on the other hand, it can drive you mad. And it is something that I and every single YouTuber that I have ever encountered deals with. You go on, you watch some podcasts from some people that make YouTube videos. You will see how crazy the YouTube studio situation will drive them. Because there's a feature of YouTube Studio that compares your last 10 videos that you've made and uploaded. So when you upload a new video, after 30 minutes, it will rank that video 10 out of 10 to 1 out of 10 on how well it's performing. When you're, in the top 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10, you get a green arrow, right? If you're 1 out of 10, you get a confetti that flies everywhere. Little dopamine hits. And if you're at the bottom, you get a gray thumbs down arrow or a down arrow that shows you didn't do well and it's not performing well. And it is so strange to basically have something that you create artistically, have it be quantified. And it's a dangerous game a little bit because you can kind of put your worth in that. I have a very personal YouTube channel where I'm on screen all the time. Much of it is about my life and what I'm doing and what I think. And so as much as I try to detach myself from some of it, some of my identity and worth is tied up in that. If I make something that I really like and I'm proud of, and I put it on YouTube and think, man, this is cool. I worked so hard on this. Can't wait to show people. And it flops, and it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of views and clicks and retention. And I can quantifiably see this factually that it is not performing well. It is not as good. That can sting. That can hurt a little bit. And I've watched so many interviews with YouTubers who have had problems with this, and some people who have stepped away from YouTube because of that, because the YouTube studio situation, it basically, I don't know, it gives you data on your performance of what you're doing in many different aspects of it. It's interesting because I'm aware that this is unhealthy and that this is not a good thing and not something that overall my value and worth is separated from that, even though I do put a little bit in there. As much as I don't want to, I have a little bit in there where I'm like, I'm going to feel good if this video is received well and performs well. I'm going to feel good from that, which I know is dumb and stupid and is something that I am trying to work on. However, it's difficult because I think that's a huge part of human nature. We are constantly trying to improve and step up. You know, they always talk about how material possessions will never bring you happiness because, okay, you have a dream to buy a really nice car and you work hard and you save up and you buy that car and it's shiny and it's new and it's awesome and you're really happy about it and maybe it gives you some dopamine for a few weeks or months maybe. But then at some point, that just becomes your car and your brain has reset to standard levels and that's what it's used to. And I've seen this. This is why I learned so much about psychology from being a YouTuber, because of seeing this with myself. I remember when I was first starting out and it was crazy for me to get 1,000 views on a video. And I thought, man, someday if I could have 10,000 subscribers, that would be insane. I will have made it. I will be happy. I will feel accomplished with that. And then I remember I got 10,000 subscribers after a few years, and I talked to another YouTuber, Connor Sullivan, who was in Germany at the time. He had over 100,000 subscribers at this time, and we talked, and I told him, yeah, man, I got 10,000. It's awesome, but now I'm just like, oh, I need to get 100,000. I need to get 100,000. 10,000 is not the marker for success. It's 100,000. And then he kind of chuckled and laughed, and he said, yeah, man, I felt the exact same way. And once I got to 100,000, all I could think about was I'll only feel good and successful if I get 1 million. It's never ending. And I know this, and I think we all know this, but it is such human nature of us to set these goals. It keeps us progressing. It keeps us moving forward. It's just ingrained in us, in most of us, I think. So it's difficult to detach from that or to deny your human nature in that sense. This is what has driven forward society for years. People striving to accomplish things and helping to improve society and inventions and, you know, all sorts of things. This is what just drives society forward on a macro scale, but down to an individual human level, it can drive you crazy. And that's something that I struggle with a little bit because now if I look at it, my YouTube channel is very strong. I got to 100,000 subscribers. But of course I still feel now like, okay, what's the next level? Where do I try and get 250 or 500? And it's so weird because logically I know that that's a never ending rat race that I will never feel satisfied and accomplished with. But somehow deep in my, my animal side of me, I can't help it. So it's almost as if being aware of it doesn't really help. Maybe it does on some level, but it's still there. It is still there. But it's interesting that I feel like I got super into human psychology and behavior due to my experience with YouTube and how YouTube quantifies your achievements and your work and tells you, oh, nope, this was bad. You need to do better next time if you want to get the green arrow, if you want to go up, which is also, though, it's so counter what I now know about life, which is that everything comes in waves. Everything comes in waves. Ups and downs and ups and downs. I spoke about this on my Patreon-only podcast last week, that this is a great thing to remember about life, is that when a surfer goes out to go surfing, the surfer waits, finds a wave, catches a wave, rides it up all the way to the top. It's awesome. It's fun. Rides it all the way down, all the momentum. And then the wave is over. It's gone. And you have to wait for the next wave to come up. But the surfer doesn't think, oh, what the hell? Where's the wave? Why is there not a wave now? What's the point of doing that? Why would I even do that if I have to come back down? The surfer doesn't think that. Of course not, because the surfer knows it's natural for the waves to come up and come down and come up and come down, as with everything in life. So I know I understand this. I know I understand this. There's that element of it, but then there's also that driven human expand, do better element of the psychology of it. So that's just something that I'm dealing with. It's a big part of being a YouTuber, and every single YouTuber has the exact same feelings because we're all human beings making YouTube videos and being exposed to these algorithms and this technology that gives you reports about your performance, and it, on one hand, drives you to try to do better, and on the other hand, drives you crazy. So that's something that I deal with. So it's annoying on one hand. On the other hand, I have it to thank for my interest in psychology, and I feel like that's made me dive into the world of a lot of elements of psychology and human psychology and behavior, and has given me a different perspective on a lot of things in life. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to touch on that is expectations versus reality, because they say happiness is expectations minus reality. Or is it reality minus expectations? I gotta write this down. I'm very visual. It's one of those. Basically, the lower your expectations, the smaller reality has to be to make you happy. If you expect to get 20,000 views on a video and you get 25,000 views on a video, you're happy. But if you expect to get 30,000, but you get 25,000, you're upset. And that's the way that that's just the way it is for us humans. So expectations, I guess this is the what is that quote? You become it's basically the whole thinking behind Buddhism is don't try to increase what you get or what you do. Try to decrease what you desire. And that's how you feel peace and happiness. So I'm working on that. That's something that I'm working on. But I'm trying to do both ends of the equation. I'm trying to lower my expectations, but also increase my performance. I'm trying to broaden that gap between expectations and reality. Improve reality as much as I can while diminishing expectations as much as I can. The bigger that gap is, the more satisfied we are with life. Man, being a human being is so freaking weird, isn't it? It is so weird. This brain of ours, it is so complex, yet makes so much sense at the same time. Wow, just the collection of matter, sticky matter inside of my skull. Crazy. So guys, those are kind of the things that I wanted to talk about today. So what do we talk about? Hamburg, my rant about football, and how YouTube has taught me psychology. I think that's going to be it for today, guys. I have an exciting announcement in the podcasting world that will be announced in the next couple weeks. I'm very excited about it, and I will be sure to keep you guys updated on that for sure. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to support this channel and me as a creator, you can check out the Patreon that I have. I do once a month a Patreon-only Q&A/podcast. You can ask me anything, and I'll do a podcast like this just for my Patreon supporters. Any questions you have for me, I read them, and I answer them to you just like this once a month, every month. So if you're interested in that, to support me and to get a little bit of more insight into this, feel free to check that out. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for the solo podcast today. Be on the lookout. We're going to have a podcast with a cool guest coming up soon. All right, guys. Have a good one.